Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Instagram. Hello, hello. Hi, YouTube. Hi, Facebook. I'm just gonna let you guys trickle in. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Ratty. Good morning, Tiana. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know if this is your first time so I can definitely shout you out. Same with those of you on YouTube and those of you on Facebook. Sarah Trey, good morning. Niratanti, good morning. Tabby Samlumbi, good morning. Deanna Carol Smith said, hey, Shay, hey, Deanna, what's up, girl? Longest time. Good morning, Mario. All right, Bing Pei, this is your first time. So is Onyi SJ. Thank you for tuning in. Good morning. I see the questions trickling in already, so let's just get right down to it. But before I start, for the first timers who don't know me, my name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer. And I represent clients all over the United States with their family immigration matter. I am located in Atlanta, Georgia, but we take cases in all 50 states in the United States, so your location is not a problem. We can still assist you. To schedule a consultation, call 407-995-6567, or you can send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. I'm just going to type it in here. Just give me a second. I have such a hard time typing numbers and talking. So let me just type it in here. 56567. And then I will get going. So just while I'm typing this phone number to pin it, feel free to leave your questions and I'll try to get us to as many as I can. Okay. So pin it. Someone's asking, what is the cost for consultation? Our costs are $150 for a consultation. And you can call any of those numbers. Yeah. Okay, so let's get right into it. So Daniela on YouTube says, good morning, beautiful. I sent my medical in this month for a green card based approval. Or you mean a green card based on a VAWA approval is what I think you're trying to say. How long does it take for USCIS to respond? USCIS can take anywhere from a month to 6 months. I would say that most people, after they send their medical, we usually will see from 1 to 3 months before they approve your green card if everything is okay. So you probably fall in that window. Since you just sent it this month, just watch and see what happens the next couple of weeks, okay? Okay. Do you do NIW petitions? No, I do not. Good morning. How long after turning in a request for evidence can we expect to hear back? This is a marriage case. EAD and travel documents have been received. Still at the National Benefits Center, or you're saying that you received it from the National Benefits Center. Mac Mapasa, it really depends on your field office and it depends on where you got the request for additional evidence. But if you've gotten your EAD and travel permit, I'm assuming that your RFE is more for substantial good faith marriage as opposed to your I-864. So this, the timeline could really vary based on what I just said earlier. It could be anywhere from 1 to 6 months. It just depends on if you're still at the field office level, if you're still at, the National Benefits Center, all of those would make a difference. But again, every single USCIS officer and office is different. So you might have an officer who moves really quickly with their applications, and then you might have an officer who's, really slowly. So, it just really depends on, who you get. Dr. Alarmi says, I need to have a consultation. Please, sure, call us. Would love to consult with you. Someone says, I have a question, but I don't see the question typed in. So you can go ahead and type in your question. After you've done your biometrics for a work permit, how many weeks do you need to wait? So it just really depends on what kind of case you have pending. So if this is a marriage-based case, you're going to see anywhere from 4 to 9 months on average from when you submitted your initial application, if that's what you have. Please, how long should an I-130 take for a Nigerian spouse? The answer is going to really depend on whether or not you have, if you're an LPR filing or a U.S. citizen. That will make, that would sort of be the determining factor. But if it's just a marriage-based case to a U.S. citizen, I'll say the I-130 portion, about 6 to 13 months on average. That's what it is. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I see someone responding to a question, but I can't see the question. Okay, yeah. How can I expedite my case? What do I do? Well, you have the basis to expedite your case. You don't just like email USCIS saying, I want to expedite my case, because everybody wants to expedite their case. You have to have a legitimate reason of why you're expediting your case. And typically the areas where we would see an expedite being approved is if there's a legitimate health concern or health need that requires some level of either your green card or ability to leave the country freely or for an extended period of time to get approved. So if you fall under one of those categories, by all means, you can certainly try to expedite. Does immigration still send you a letter for the I-130? I'm not sure I understand that question. I'm not sure I understand that question. Joe says, "Good morning, Aisha. I just want to know if you do get people thanking you and your team for the outstanding job that you're doing. I feel that we need to appreciate you every day because you are a rod to bringing families together, and it's awesome." Thank you so much, Joe. I really, really appreciate that. We definitely do get some very grateful people, both clients and even just people who follow us that appreciate the work that we do, who thank us all the time, in their client portals, via our Google reviews. We have 400 Google 5-star reviews, which I do not take for granted, and I'm very grateful for, and we will continue to strive. No law firm is perfect. You have different people, different personalities working. We do try our best, to give our clients the outcome that they deserve, which is to be able to live freely in this country. And so for every gratitude or every appreciation or everybody that says, we see what you're doing, we're definitely very grateful and blessed to be doing what we do every single day. Okay. How long after biometrics will advanced parole be approved? This answer is the same answer as the work permit if you're doing especially if you're doing like a combo card, which is a work and travel permit. However, if you have an emergency and a need to get an advanced parole earlier, you can actually schedule an InfoPass appointment. And at the InfoPass appointment, you can, explain or show them your emergency, and then they can give you an emergency advanced parole to go outside. Can you file for VAWA while you're outside of the United States? Technically, yes. However, the abuse must have occurred in the United States, unless your abuser is a member of the U.S. military and, is based outside of the U.S. And let me correct myself. Some of the abuse must have occurred in the United States, even if not all happened here. Good morning. I'm a U.S. citizen, and my wife is a U.S. citizen, which is favorable to petition from my own child from my ex-spouse. Doesn't really matter. Both of you can file for your child. Of course, you should file for your child if you're a U.S. citizen, because God forbid you and your wife break up and then she decides to withdraw the petition, then your child is now stuck starting from the beginning. And then if they've aged out, then that becomes a problem. Also, one of the things that you have to look into when a step parent that's a U.S. citizen is filing for the child, you always want to make sure that that marriage happened before that child turned 18. So that child has to have been under 18 before you know, the marriage, like when the marriage happened. But it's probably better for you to file just in case you guys break up. But from a timeline perspective, it would be the same thing. Okay. Molina says, I have a VAWA already. I have a prima facie determination letter, biometrics done, 1 year and 2 months, no requests for evidence. Just applying for an I-360 only. So I don't know if you're asking me a question or you're just kind of like telling me that. Like, what's your question? Are you asking when you should expect to hear anything back? VAWA cases take 2 to 3 years on average to get a decision. As I mention this every single Tuesday, unless you have an expedited reason where they can approve an expedited application. Okay. I'm Ola says, nice seeing you, sis. It's been a while, or am I the one missing your program? You're probably the one missing the program, but glad to have you on here today. I'm about to start getting my documents to submit. Should I do all forms, including medical, and a petition for my son back home, marriage-based? That is legal advice that I prefer not to offer on here as someone who's self-petitioning for yourself, because I don't want any liability issues without knowing what's going on with your case. What does it mean when they say a prima facie determination letter is granted? What that means basically, first of all, a prima facie determination letter is a preliminary approval that a VAWA applicant typically gets when your VAWA application has met certain requirements, the main factors or the main requirements of being eligible to be approved for a VAWA case. So i.e., that you do have a family member in the category that allows you eligibility, and that could be a U.S. citizen if you are the spouse of a U.S. citizen, or the child of a U.S. citizen, or the parent of a U.S. citizen who is over the age of 21. It could also be the spouse of a green card, 10-year green card holder, or the child of a 10-year green card holder. That's number one. Number two, if you are a person of good moral character and in the last 3 years you don't have any crimes of moral turpitude, if you can show, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the abuse, and then also if you can show good faith relationship, that you didn't just enter this relationship for green card purposes, but that this is truly a good faith relationship and you have the supporting bona fides. Now, these are just like really just a gloss over at the initial application where they're just check marking certain things. And so the prima facie allows you in certain states to be able to get a driver's license. The prima facie allows you in certain schools to be able to attend school and also receive financial aid. This is very different for every state and for every school. You're going to have to find out individually what your state or your school will allow. It also allows you to be able to get public assistance for housing if you're a victim of, domestic abuse and violence. Every state has its requirement. For instance, like New York will allow that if I'm using just a random state. I allow cannot living room if that happens. If you guys are on YouTube and Facebook, can you comment? I'll raise your hand if you can see me, because my thing just blacked out. So I'm not sure if you guys can see me. I feel like those of you on Instagram can see me, but you can also confirm if you can see or hear me. What was I saying now? So that's what a prima facie allows you to have or to do. But again, a prima facie is not a guarantee of our approval. I feel that I need to make sure that I point it out. One thing you hear from me is I will never lie, about stuff. Like, I don't believe in sugarcoating things. I believe in doing the best job possible, but it's always good to be transparent and give people the best opportunity for the best outcome. What I mean by that is there are going to be people that'll tell you, oh, if you got a prima facie determination letter, 100% you're getting an approval. It's not true. When they make the determinations from prima facie, they're literally just glancing over this check mark, this check mark, this check mark, this check mark. But once they start to review your application, that is when they begin to dissect. For instance, they may now, let's say you submitted bank statements. This is just really random example, so, okay, let's see, does applicant A have a bona fide marriage? Is this truly a good faith marriage? Only evidence she has is she only has like bank statements with their both joint names and saying that, she's using this to show cohabitation, that they lived together, right? And this is a proof of good faith marriage. And they start looking at your bank statements, and your bank statements maybe shows only one transaction done by only one person, or your bank statement shows half of the transactions are being done in Florida and the other half are being done in Pennsylvania, right? That already is a red flag, because if you guys live together, why is one person charging in Philadelphia and why is the other person charging in Florida? Or why is only one person's card being used? So when a case like can you guys on Facebook and Instagram, it doesn't look like they can see me. Can you guys on Instagram see me? I'm like here talking and I've disappeared, I think, from everybody's timeline. So, okay, let me go back to what I was saying. So in that bank card example, even though you got a prima facie determination letter, you're going to get an RFE to explain that. And if you can't explain that, then you can get denied. Same thing, you can have a marriage certificate or divorce certificate, and for prima facie, they're not doing the secondary review of that. They're just going to put a check mark to it. But when it comes down to it, when an officer starts to review that and they look at it with a reciprocity table and say, okay, this is not what a typical divorce from this country looks like. So I am going to send an RFE, a notice of intent to deny, because this does not look legitimate. And so that can be grounds for denial. I will tell you guys this, I have the only valid case that I've ever lost, I can count them, of the hundreds that we filled are 4. And all of them related to fraudulent divorce documents or non-valid divorce documents, or lied about their marriage or divorce in their B1, B2 applications. Those are things that, I always joke in the office. I always say, I can make magic happen, but I can't turn water into wine because, I'm not Jesus. Like I cannot, I cannot go back in time and tell you, go make the right decision, So I am going to say it here again as a public announcement, especially if you're from countries like Nigeria being the biggest culprit of this. A lot of times, you're going to have either you've entrusted this to somebody that you trust in Nigeria. Oh, I sent to my cousin, please help me with my divorce. And then they give you paperwork and tell you that, your divorce is done and it's not valid. In Nigeria, like I'm telling you guys this, I'm a Nigerian, listen, so I can say this to you guys. You must make sure that if you have a divorce, that your divorce is valid. If a lawyer did not file your divorce, that is a telltale sign, for a fact that your divorce is not valid. If a lawyer filed your divorce, you can go and look up your divorce depending on what state you live in. Like if you live in Lagos, if you live in Abuja, certain other states, you can't. There are also certain languages in the Nigerian Marriage and Divorce Act that they're looking for to see in your divorce decree, So this is really important. So this is these are examples of where you can get a prima facie determination letter, but it cannot cure a fraudulent divorce. And when I say fraudulent divorce, let's be clear. I'm not saying that, the client or an applicant necessarily has or intended or willfully intended to get a fraudulent divorce. But what it is sometimes they might entrust somebody by giving someone money, or even some of this charge and bail lawyers who are unscrupulous in Nigeria. Oh, go do this for me. And then they just do rubbish, and the divorce is not valid. So it is really, really important that, you do that. And then the worst are the people who both exes are here in the United States, yet they still choose to do their divorce in Nigeria, where you can do it here and just not put yourself in a situation where they're saying that your divorce document is not valid. So it's just really important, guys. Nigerians, I'm talking to you again. Do your divorces correctly, guys. Do your divorces correctly. And just to make some clarification, because I know this also confuses some Nigerians, I am only talking about marriages that took place within the court registry or through a white wedding where you had to register your marriage in court. If you have a customary wedding, meaning a traditional wedding, also known as an engagement, like Yoruba people say engagement, Igbo people say Ibanku, Ibumaya, all the different terms. If you have that, there is no requirement of any documentary divorce. And we can make an argument and point that to USCIS and show them what the rules and the laws say. But as soon as there is a court wedding or a white wedding, you must have the correct divorce. Okay, let's keep it moving. Hi, thank you for what you're doing. I have a VAWA pending and I just applied for an I-765 renewal. What am I expecting from them? Well, if you just apply for a renewal and you apply for the renewal before the expiration date, then your receipt acts as an extension. So you can use your receipt, which you should get in like 4 to 6 weeks. You can use that as an extension of your expired work permit. Otherwise, you're probably looking at 7 to 9 months to get the actual card. But again, your receipt acts as an extension along with the expired card. Does a person with 4 DUIs but no felonies still receive citizenship on 10 years green card? You said Georgia. It depends. It really depends on when you had those DUIs. If it was in the last 5 years, it's very, very, your chances are like 0 to 0.1% if it's in the last 5 years. I'm on my third prima facie. Is it advisable to file my green card while waiting for the I-360 approval? I'm Olu. Only if you're eligible. So I don't know why originally you didn't file your I-485, but if you were married or are married to a U.S. citizen and that's the basis of your VAWA application, you should be filing your adjustment of status. That way you can also get your work and travel permit and social security number if you haven't gotten one while you're waiting. Okay? Okay, someone said we see you on IG. Awesome. Azil Arthur says, thank you for what you do. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Someone is asking, good morning, is there a fee for consultation? Yes, there is. It's $150. Paper filing or online filing, which is more efficient. We prefer paper filing here, but it's different for everybody. How long after divorce can someone apply for a green card? Asking for a family member, they were abused by the person they were married to. Well, they need to make sure that they file for VAWA if they're eligible for VAWA before the 2-year anniversary of the divorce. So the sooner they file, the better. If it's been after 2 years, then they're no longer eligible. Okay. Let's see. Embassy wants maternal DNA. How to avoid? Why avoid it? If you are able to do the DNA, then just go do the DNA. That's the easiest way to confirm, maternal relationship and to get your approval. So go do it. If you are from certain countries, obviously it's going to take a longer time. So definitely always recommend going to a different country if it's feasible. Using let me use like Nigeria, for instance, like DNAs in Nigeria right now can take you like 2 years. So we've had clients go to Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and get it, and that is really quickly. And if you have an ECOWAS passport, you're able to do that very easily, like without having to get a visa. You just fly in, do your DNA, because you have to do your DNA through a specific agency if that's what's requested, and then keep it moving. Can you talk about the new Biden program, please? What do you want me to talk about? Right now, they're not approving cases. The cases are on hold, which is why, I don't believe in sensationalism because it's on hold. I mean, you can put in an application right now if you qualify. It's just that they're not going to process or make a decision on it depending on what the courts decide, since, There's a lawsuit going on. But just as a quickie for those who don't know, what that means is basically if you entered into the country undocumented, meaning you crossed the border, you entered without any kind of paper or proof that you entered into the country, and you entered before June 15th, 2014, on or before June 15, 2014, and you are married to a U.S. citizen, you have no criminal records, you can be eligible to get parole in place and ultimately a green card through this process. It's just that right now there are a lot of lawsuits going on, so they've kind of put a pause on processing these cases and making a decision. USCIS will still accept the application, so sure, you can put in the application to put yourself in the line, but we don't know what will happen. And what really is frustrating about that is that, today is September 24th. We're literally less than, what is it? Is it maybe even 40 days? Like 40 days from a national election. So all of this is going to also depend on who enters into office next year. Because if you have, former President Trump entering into office, this is probably something that he's going to remove. And so I think that the people that have done this lawsuit have done this as a way to kind of stall, to buy time. If Kamala enters in, obviously Kamala's policy is more favorable to immigrants, but it's just to see what the judges decide, because even though a president can make an executive decision or an executive order, the way systems and balances or checks and balances work in the United States is that, once people don't agree with what the president has done, it then goes over to the court, to the legal system, who are the interpreters of the law and what they're allowed to do. And so that's what's happening right now. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Seeing a lot of questions about biometrics. What's the possible way to adjust one's status from H-2B to a green card holder? Family is the best way, or investment if you're eligible for it. Okay. How long does it take for a citizen father to get his overaged unmarried kids over? So that would be F1 category. What I say right now, well, it depends on what country you're from. Let's say you're not from India, Philippines, or China. You're looking at like 7 to 8 years. How long does USCIS marriage investigation take? I've been waiting 11 months now. When you say marriage investigation, are you being investigated by the fraud unit? Because if you are, then that really puts a wrench in your case, and that can take a long time. So it just depends. But did you have a home visit? Did you have Stokes? There is no published timeline, so I can't even tell you a timeline because nothing is published. However, it does take them a long time. One of the things that can be done first is a service inquiry. If nothing comes of the service inquiry, you can certainly reach out to congressional assistants and congressmen to see if any of them can push them to make a decision or issue a notice of what they're trying to do. And then ultimately, if none of those work, then you might want to do a writ of mandamus, which is when you sue the government if you believe that you have strong evidence to show that your case will be successful. All right, guys, I do have to jump off. But I will be back next week. And if you have any questions or you'd like to schedule a consultation, call us 407-995-6567. I see Kim Janelle says she has a consultation with our firm on Friday. Yay. We look forward to hearing from you and hopefully giving you some answers. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing day and I will talk to you all later. Bye.